welcome back to my video. This is going to be entitled Get a Life Number One. And on Get a Life Number One, I'm going to bring up an issue I've talked about quite a bit before, is the equality of women in the society. And as far as equality of women in the society, I want to raise that now as a specific issue to show what needs to be done so that women can begin having equality in some society. In the United States of America, we have as close to them as possible at this time. However, we do not have them totally equal. And what I'm going to do now is start talking about what it would look like if women were totally equal in a society. Now, I don't want to shock a lot of people or put you off right away, but one thing that we have to remember is that men and women are different. Women, as I said before, when God created women, He created more of a love engine. But when He created males, He created a horsepower engine. Now, as more powerful as the horsepower engine is over the love engine, that is equaled by the demand that men have for women for sexual services. And in having the desire for sexual services for a woman, it is the thing that, if allowed, will equalize women in the society. And by that, all of the information I've looked at criticizes women for not getting equal pay with men. All we have to do is make one change, and that is to allow women to do what women want to do. Not what men tell them to do, what they want to do. So if they want to charge a gentleman for having sexual services, it is what is termed as sex work. And it is work. They're allowing the females to use their body for sexual services. It is not immoral. It is not unnatural. It is the even flow of what makes things work properly. And at the time men do this, men will understand, because they are allowing the woman to let them use their body for sexual services. And in some cases, the women will want to charge for it. If they're doing it as a business for themselves, they have a right to do that. There is nothing immoral about it. It is the natural flow of how God created women. Not every woman will want to participate in it, but the ones that do are allowed to make a profit. And historically, we're going to use something fairly recent, and it is called Sally Stanford. Now, Sally Stanford was a made-up name that she used when she had her brothel in San Francisco. And she ran it for many years. She was arrested many times, but only convicted twice. That's because men wanted it to be illegal. That needs to be something that is not available. It is not something that men have a right to rule about. This is what women have a right to do with their free choice in life, and they have a right to have it without men interfering. So when women want to allow men to use their body for sex work, they will charge. The usual time is only an hour, and men get what they want. And the reason I know that is, as I've said before, I lived in the Woodstock era. And that is, I was already married by then. I already had a wife by then. But when Woodstock came out, and the summary of Woodstock is love, sex, and rock and roll. Now, I did not pick up the rock and roll or the love part, but I did pick up the sex part. And women were available for sex during this period because there were so many of them willing to allow their body to be used for sex that the law enforcement could not keep up with the laws on the book. So they just allowed it to take place without trying to interfere. Now, this was not exactly what is needed because the laws prohibited women from selling their body. That is unconstitutional. It should be unlawful. It is unreasonable and needs to be changed. The only change it needs to make is that no male or corporation or business entity can have anything to do with a woman participating in that activity. The women is only for women. Men cannot be involved at all. Now, why that is possible is that men will basically use their power to subjugate women for doing it for a fraction of the money that is brought in. And what has to be made as a law is when women engage in sex services, they are limited to having no less than 90% of everything that's provided for that encounter to go directly into the pocket of the woman. And the Sally Stanford made a lot of money. I don't know how much she kept. That no more than 10% can ever be taken from all of the benefit that comes in as a result of a woman engaging in that activity has to go directly into her bank account. Someone else cannot share in any way on that. And the rule is, if anyone takes any of that belongs to the female, that individual or entity has to repay 10 times what was taken. And I think with the 10 times penalty, that will encourage everyone to keep their hands off of it. It all belongs to the woman. Now, once we incorporate that into the society, any society, that will now make women equal. When women complain that they don't have the financial power that men do, just by having the sex work by itself going strictly into females' bank accounts will balance what men make by abusing women and not paying them equal pay for the same amount of work that women are doing. If men push that too far and take away too much of the benefit, the women can just go back to the default position and sell their body for sex and make plenty of money to accomplish anything else they need to accomplish. Now, as we go forward and get beyond this, the reason I bring this up first is the religious people want to tell the females that it is wrong, there's something wrong with it. That is a form of abuse, and that abuse has to be ended. The female body belongs to her. The choices that she chooses are all hers. Now, as I have said before, when it comes to childbearing, government does have something to say. But government cannot infringe any more than 25% of all of the choices that a woman can make. The government can infringe a little bit, and some examples I will use. If a woman becomes pregnant and does not want to be pregnant, the government can provide a system where the woman will carry the child until it can support life outside of the woman, and the government will pay the woman for that child. But then the child belongs to the government. The government can put it up for adoption. It can have a price that people can pay for the children that are in the government stockpile, so that people who have problems having children, or have had a problem, or cannot have not been able to engage in pregnancy, can adopt from the supply that the government now has. This is going to be some modifications to the way things are used now, and we just have to get used to them so they adopt. Because this video is for the purpose of making women absolutely equal in every government in the world. Now, as I get into talking about government, which will be the next video number 2 on Get a Life, it is what governments are restrained from doing. And governments, every government on the planet, is abusing women if they don't give women absolute freedom in what belongs to women. And we have one that is called the religious system, that refers to themselves as Islamic people. And by Islamic, they feel that they are submitting to Allah and subjugating women as slaves are two different systems. If you submit to Allah, Allah will tell the female what Allah wants the female to dress like. It's not up to men or the government to make that determination for women. They are now absolutely free and equal. They are not told anything by a government at all, and cannot be told by males what they cannot do. That is totally for a woman to have the responsibility for. Now, I know the Islamic people do that so they won't be enticed. Get over it, men. Women have the right to dress so they entice a male. Women, as they go through life and they become of an age where they start having a position in life where they can create human beings. Now, they can't do it on their own. They need the support of a male to do that. And that means the male deposits his sperm in the female, and the egg gets fertilized. She will become pregnant. And that means that she has the right to say who she gets an egg from. And in my experience, women generally want to make that decision on their own, and they should have a right to do that. If the male does not want to go along, they'll have to find another male that would be willing to do that with them. Now, men usually want a wife, and that is how they form a government organization, and it's called marriage. And when a man and a wife get together and form the contract of marriage, what they're saying is, we want to raise a family. The man does not want other men contributing his eggs, and the woman does not want her husband running around contributing his sperm to other women. So they have an agreement where they will be magnanimous with each other so that only that man has sex with that woman and only that woman allows that man to have sex with her. That is a government organization, not a religious one. Religion is to take a back seat to government 100% of the time. And when I start talking about governments, the next one will be on governments, and the following after that will be on the United Nations. That will be Get a Life number 2 and Get a Life number 3. But right now, we're going to only concentrate on what it's like for women to be absolutely equal. Women gets to make the choice who has sex with her. If another man forces himself on the woman and she's made it clear that she doesn't want it, that is a government entity where that man needs to be punished. He needs to go to jail for what he did. It is not lawful for a man to force himself on any woman at all. If a woman agrees and realizes she's made a mistake, she can choose not to have the baby. And if the government does not want to basically engage in a contract where they take that baby, she has the absolute right to terminate that pregnancy. She does not have to carry the baby of a male that she does not want any part of. As long as she can terminate it as quickly and easily and medically as safe as possible, she has a right to do so. No woman has to carry a baby she doesn't want. That's her body, that's her choice. And men do not have anything to say about it at all. Absolutely nothing. Now, as far as the woman is concerned, if she is engaged in a relationship with the male and the male has impregnated her and the male wants to make an agreement with her that she is willing to carry that baby to term until the baby can live outside of her body, and then the male will be able to take that baby as his own. The mother then will release all rights to the baby by getting the financial compensation that the male has agreed to pay before they continued the relationship, or can she continued carrying the baby. This is a part of government. It has nothing to do with religion. Religion, you can believe anything you want. The religion, you can have any attitude you want, and the religion you have may motivate you to act in ways that cross with what the government has a right to do. Now that we make it very clear that all issues concerning a woman's pregnancy is her choice or government sanctioned. And that means that laws have to be made that she agrees with. If she doesn't agree with the government ruling, she can terminate that pregnancy. It is all in her right to do that. That's what makes them equal in the society. When they are pregnant, their choice about the pregnancy is 100% theirs. Now, does that mean that no one else has anything to do with it? No, but they have to be able to bring forward something that she's willing to agree with. If the man wants to have the baby and there is an amount set for government for that to happen, but the woman is unwilling to carry the baby for that amount of money, she's responsible for reaching an agreement with the gentleman, or else she retains 100% of the right to terminate. So ultimately, the full power of whether she has that baby or not, or she wants to conform to what the government has required, she can choose to do that, or she can reject it. No one can force that woman to carry a baby that she does not want to carry unless they reach an agreement that she agrees on. If she doesn't agree on it, the baby will get terminated, regardless of what the religious attitude of the gentleman is. Now, if she has a dollar amount that the gentleman cannot afford, and he can find another way to compensate the woman for it, there may be other entities that have a system set in where the gentleman will pay whatever he can afford, and the other entity will pay the difference between what the woman wants to carry the baby, and therefore there will be an agreement between all the parties. The ones that obligate themselves will have to pay the woman once she carries that baby to full term. Now, we cannot control nature. Sometimes the man can't, sometimes the woman can't. Sometimes nature will step in, create problems. If that happens, all contracts are void. If she is not able to carry the baby for any reason whatsoever till full term, then she has not carried out her part of the agreement. And that terminates all agreements between all parties. So even though the parties make an agreement and something happens along the way where the woman cannot fulfill, even if she's carried the baby for 6 or 7 months, and this comes in and interferes with that baby being born healthy enough to be turned over to the man, if it is mentally retarded or has defects that the man does not agree to, he does not have to pay her the agreed amount that was set for her to carry the baby to full term. She is obligated, once she reaches that agreement, to carry an average baby. She does not have to have a baby that has superior intelligence. However the baby comes out, if it's at least average, right in the middle, not below average, and it does not have to be above average, but it does have to be at least average. If it's not average, the gentleman does not have to accept it, and the female is not allowed to be compensated where she was not able to perform. When she makes agreements, she's agreeing that she will produce a baby that is at least average and above. She does not have total control. Nature has its own attitude, and as I said before, God does have a sense of humor, and many variations will happen. But if the variation is at least average and above, the gentleman must perform. If it's low average, the gentleman does not have to perform. The woman takes the loss. Even though she's carried the baby for full term, if it is not average, the government does not have to accept the baby, and she gives birth to a baby that must be terminated at birth. And therefore, when people talk about when abortions can be handled, that means they can be handled right up to the time of birth. When the baby is born, it does not have to start breathing. That means the woman can terminate that pregnancy right up to and after birth. And that will be the end of it. I'm going to say goodbye. This is the end of Get a Life #1. And I look forward for you coming back for Get a Life #2, which will be about governments. And I want to thank everyone for coming, and you to have your friends subscribe to my channel and continue to come back and watch. And I want to thank you for coming, and I'll say goodbye for now. Goodbye.